baby. Boston has entered the chat. Championship Parade Edition. Sound the trumpets. Release the doves. Travis Thomas here with Adam Pellerin. I am so fired up for the parade today, my man.
I can't believe we have another victory. Yes, I can. Of course I can believe we have another victory parade. Where do we live? We live in Boston, the city of champions, undisputed. Let's go.
Yeah, well said, my friend. Hey, call us, 617-790-0928. Tell us your parade plans. Also, email us at chat@nesson.com. Send us your tweets. We'll get to them. I want to start here, though, Adam, before we get to what's trending. Yours truly, at the conclusion of this fine program, will be in attendance for the parade, and I will not be working. I will be there as a fan. Can you believe it?
Make sure you hydrate, Trav.
By hydrate, you mean alcohol?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Okay. I was just making sure you weren't coming to me with that water nonsense, baby. All right, now let's get to what's trending, and you know what it is. How about this? Al Horford making an appearance and working. I may not be working after this show today at the parade, but Al Horford was working at Raising Cane's on Boylston Street yesterday. And Adam, to say everybody showed up would be an understatement. Everyone came out to show, look at the line, came out to show love to Al Horford, clearly beloved in this city, clearly a fan favorite, Adam.
Is that a line to see Al Horford, or is that a line to get an autograph from Travis Thomas? I can't tell the difference.
I love it, man. Approximately 1 million Celtics fans in line outside Raising Cane's ready to meet Al Horford. That's what that tweet said. Here's another one from Savage. Future Hall of Famer. Al Horford is a true man of the people. Boston loves Al. Of course they do, Adam.
I love Al Horford, man. I got a chance to interview him when he first signed with Boston at Fenway, actually, throughout the first pitch back in 2016. And what a true class act. Just a great guy to have on your team, obviously, but off the court as well. And clearly, Travis, a man of the people.
Clearly. But wait, Adam, there's more. Joe Mazzulla was getting involved as well. He was in the north end. Get this, that Larry O'Brien trophy. How about that? Just walking around the north end, nothing to see here. Just a championship head coach. Thank you very much.
Holding it like a baby. Speaking of that, Travis, this actually reminds me, speaking of babies, this reminds me of when Andrew Ferentz, former Bruins defenseman, and Zdeno Chara put the Stanley Cup in a baby stroller and paraded it around the north end. Yeah, it's true. So this is kind of almost a throwback, an homage to that, if you will.
I love that. Listen, there's nothing better than when the athletes, when the coaches, this is actually my first time experiencing a coach doing this, but I love when the athletes take the Stanley Cup or the World Series trophy, or in this case, a Larry O'Brien or the Lombardi, whatever it is, and just walk through the city with it. I mean, the commotion you get from the people and the fans, the player looks badass doing it, or the coach. I just think it's really cool, and it ingrains you with that city no matter where it is, and in Boston, it means even more, Adam.
Yeah, it does. It's awesome. And I remember when Ferentz and Chara did that and they were walking around with it, and how cool that was. To see Mazzulla doing that is pretty cool too. But yeah, I mean, people around here, that happens, Travis, because there's another saying that people appreciate that. You know, people really appreciate that, and it's a special moment. So that's so cool that tradition carries on.
All right, now listen. Speaking of Joe Mazzulla, I need you to put your Joe Mazzulla coaching hat on for me, your boy, because you know I'm going to this parade. And you know I don't have to work. When you have to work, everyone's telling you where you're going to be, what spot you're going to be at, what your assignment is. I don't have any of that. I am rogue, okay? So here's what I need to know from you. I know that it starts at TD Garden, ends on Boylston, right? But
Yeah.
Coach me up. Tell me where I should be. Like, what can I expect? Talk to me and everyone else going to this parade today who's maybe going for the first time, how to kind of navigate here. You need to be my North Star. Navigate me, my friend. Coach me up.
All right. Well, I would say just get on a duck boat.
Oh, that's easy.
There you go. There you go. You get best seat in the house. It'd be fantastic. If you can find a way to do that, that's what I would suggest you do. But if you can't find a way to do that, I would probably say that, so they used to have a rally, right? So there'd be like a rally at the beginning or the end. And with that not being the case this time around, I don't know if there's a bad spot. I mean, it's going to be a party along the route. Like no matter where you go, I will say one cool thing. And again, I don't know if you can see this as well in person as you can on TV, but to see the duck boats sort of, take the turn and then get on the straightaway and then come down the hill. So there's a little bit of a hill from where they're coming from. So they're going to go up Stanford and they're going to take a left on Cambridge, which is going to turn into Tremont. When you get to Tremont, they start coming down the hill. And so when they start coming down the hill and you're down like Boston Common area, you can sort of see them approach.
Yeah. Okay.
That's pretty cool. Okay. Like I kind of like that vibe.
Okay.
So if you're looking, and you got plenty of room in the Common, right? Like, I mean, a huge wide, right? So that's what I would suggest.
Just hearing you talk about this, you had recommended a low-key spot for me to go to near the Common that I'm not going to say here because I don't want anyone to know the secrets. But I was thinking maybe to be at the Garden for this, but I'm thinking now the more we talk, it feels like the Common might be the move for me, Adam. What do you think? That's probably strategically the move, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's what I would do. I mean, you also got the Boston Common Garage right there. And again, forgive me to all the people listening out there. I haven't looked at the exact logistics of like what the city of Boston has issued in terms of parking bans and things like that. I would imagine the garage would be open, but maybe that street closes at a certain time because it's you know what I mean. So in terms of just the viewing experience, right? So I won't talk about where you park or any of that stuff, but in terms of the viewing experience, that's what I would go with. That area, Tremont, duck boats coming down the street.
Well, listen, the early bird gets the beverage. So, like, the way I see it, just wake up, get after it, get down there early. I mean, that's a game plan, baby. I'll be in position.
That's it. You'll be like with the local news crews when they're out there for their morning shows at like 5 a.m. Then all of a sudden I'll look and I'll see, there's Travis just walking around. He's walking around the background. Nobody's there yet. But my guy Travis got an early start.
You got it. And I'm ignorant too. I'll be like, where are the duck boats at? Let's get this party started. Now, I will say this, you knew there was a there was a curveball thrown my way where I didn't think this was going to happen. I had a family obligation, so I was going to watch it on TV and I was fine with that. But then now I got this curveball. I'm going to say allowed. The wife gave me the hall pass to go to the parade, so I'm going to it. Yeah. But listen, you kind of even just alluded to this where you said on TV you can maybe see it better, maybe not. There's nothing wrong for those of you in the audience who are watching this on TV. I think in a way, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably some advantages to watching it on TV as well. You just see everything a lot more clear, and certainly there's more personal space for you in your own home or wherever watching this on a screen, right?
Yeah, well, I'll say that I won't be attending the parade this year because I actually will be doing Red Sox pre- and post-game coverage as they open up a series against the Reds. So I will not be in attendance. So I will be watching on TV. But you're right. The advantage of watching at home is that you get to see the entire parade unfold before your very eyes. You get a up close and personal look at all of the players. I'm sure there'll be a pool camera on the duck boats and giving you that perspective as well, things that you wouldn't be able to see if you were out on the parade route. But I would say that being out on the parade route, if you've never done it before, Travis,
Yep.
that's something that I would recommend if you can make it happen. And so I think that, the advantage of being there is just to say, hey, I was there with all of these fans going crazy at one rager of a party. And I think that experiencing that, because again, here in Boston, we've been so fortunate to have so many of these parades.
Yeah.
But you still can't guarantee that, oh, you know what, I'll go to the next one. The next one might not be for a long time. That's a real possibility. So if you have the opportunity, go. So I'm glad you're going.
There's also a flip side of that coin. We could be doing this again next year because this team, the championship window is wide open for them, brother. It really is. Yeah. And now that this first one is off of their backs, that pressure being alleviated now, I would not be shocked at all if this team rattles off a couple here in the next, call it 4 or 5 years. In other words, I almost think if we look back years from now, Adam, in the Tatum Brown era, we'll call it, and they only have one ring, it'll just feel like they came up short. I think these guys now, especially with that first one out of the way, I could see a world where we're right back here, if not next year, maybe shortly thereafter. Now, what I'm expecting to see and what I hope to see is everything you described, a rager, the energy. I just want to be you and I talk about this a lot. For me, I never want to leave this city, ever. I love it. I've fallen in love with it since I've been here. And so this is part of my journey, I feel like, where I just want to bask in the Boston sports glow. So my expectations, my want for what I want to see, what I want to feel is very broad. As you're watching it on television this time, and really kind of a new experience for you even, what do you want to get from this parade? What are you kind of looking for? What are you yearning for from this?
I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that, Travis. I was thinking more about how happy I was for you that you're going to go and experience this for the first time, because I've experienced it and it's awesome. So I don't think that there's anything that I want to see, but I will give you some advice though.
Okay.
As you go there, make sure, don't be shy about taking pictures, taking videos, meeting people, talking to people, because you're going to look back at that years from now and be like, man, I was there for the first of 6 titles for Jason Tatum.
I see what you're doing there. A little dynasty. Yeah.
But no, seriously, man, because people your friends are going to want to see it, be like, oh man, what was it like? What was the experience like? Be like, hey, you know what? I could tell you about it, but here's really get a perspective of people around you, the 360 view, do all of that, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's well said, brother. I appreciate those kind words too. And where's my parade party people at? We want to hear from you. 617-790-0928. Hit us up. Leave us voicemails. I may leave one myself from the parade. Email us as well. On my voicemail, Adam say, Adam, I love you, man. Anything is possible. Email us as well to chat@nesson.com and send us those tweets. Would you look? Adam and I can talk to her blue in the face, and we usually do on Boston Has Entered the Chat, but let's get some other perspective here. We know a player who was a part of that 04 Red Sox duck boat parade, the infamous parade. I wasn't even here, Adam, and I knew all about that parade, Lenny DiNardo. So let's hear from him and his perspective right now. All right, Lenny, I need a player perspective here because Adam and I have talked about how we've covered it in the media, both being at the parade or being in studio or even being there as a fan. I know you covered one as a media member, but I need to play a vision. I need to know what it's like to be on one of those duck boats in the parade. Tell me everything. Is it everything I've dreamed of, Lenny?
Yeah. I mean, you want to be on that boat, right? And like you said, I covered it back in 2018, and all I could think about was being back on the boat as a player. Some time did elapse between 2004 and 18, and the feelings did kind of come back of being, such a special time. The day itself was dreary. It was rainy. It was muggy. It was cold. But that didn't stop the people from showing up for us. 3.5 million people, I believe, was the number, give or take. Yeah, it was a lot of people, just a sea of people. And I just remember the people were extremely excited and they are having the best time. And a lot of them had pictures of family members that they took off their mantelpiece as they left the house, pictures of people that were no longer with us. It was at that time when I saw those people holding those, that's when it really hit me how special it was, because people lived a full lifetime without catching a World Series won by the Boston Red Sox. And there's a lot of really good, talented teams and talented players that came before us that just didn't quite make it. So it was a really special time. I was talking about the right place at the right time, being a Rule 5 rookie in 2004, picked up by the Mets, never pitched a day above Double-A. And I really only had a month of Double-A prior to that. I was mainly an A-ball guy, high A, going into the 2003 season. So it was extremely special. I was on the boat with Mike Myers and a bunch of other relievers somewhere towards the end, and it was the best feeling. I mean, I still have to pinch myself to anytime I think about it.
I think of 2004, and like you, Lenny, you mentioned the teams that came before that 2004 team. I grew up watching a lot of those teams, and namely the 2003 team the year before that came up just short, of course, in the ALCS. But, you've played for other teams in Major League Baseball. You've been across the country. You played in other sports cities. You came back and now a member of the media, and you've seen other championship parades. How different is Boston from other places?
Well, I always say, I went to Oakland for a few years. I went to Kansas City, and I could go out and throw 8 innings in Oakland, right? I could leave the stadium, and nobody would recognize me from anybody. You go out in Boston, you pitch a third of an inning, you strike a lefty out. Guess what? You leave the stadium, people recognize you. They know exactly who you are. They know everything about you, where you've been in the minor leagues. It's like nowhere else, really, because it's a small, big town, right? Everybody in the world of sports is recognized, right? From the bat boy on to your Hall of Famers. And the base that watches these games are super, super knowledgeable. They know everything, right? And I remember Bronson Arroyo told me back early in 2004, when the Red Sox lose, these people don't eat dinner. They get ticked off, right? They take it seriously. They're sitting at home thinking, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? They're thinking of what we could have done different. It's not like that in any other city. It wasn't like that in Kansas City when I was there either. People go on with their lives. They don't really take it the same way. Win or lose, it's like, all right, we'll go get them another day, whatever. Not here, not New England. They take it super seriously. You're a local guy, Adam. Tell me you weren't ticked off when the Red Sox lost back in those previous seasons.
Yeah, no, I was, man. Like, I mean, and the thing is too, speaking, just about the Red Sox now, the mentality was like something's going to happen. It always does. No matter how well you do during the regular season, no matter how good things look for you, if you get into the postseason, something's going to go wrong. It has before. It will again. We are cursed. And that was the sort of feeling that we had going in 04, especially Lenny. I mean, you know better than anybody. I mean, being down 0-3 to the Yankees in the ALCS, getting waxed in Game 3, everybody outside of that clubhouse was like, here we go again. You guys are done. We're going to have to blow it up and figure something else out, try again next year. That was always the mentality. The fact that you guys, came back, were able to win that series and then just sweep the Cardinals. By the way, the World Series itself was anticlimactic, right? Because it was a sweep. After that 7-game series against the Yankees, the most improbable comeback ever. You come back and sweep the Cardinals like NBD. But no, that was it, man. Like that gave people like this sort of, it was healing. It was this moment of healing. And that's what you saw in the parade, right? And I think you guys both sort of alluded to that. And we've talked about it being cathartic. You could see it, this sort of like sense of relief, like we finally did it. Like you haven't seen that in other parades, like the Patriots parade, like it was the first one. But the fact that the Red Sox had not won in 86 years, you felt that being out there, and just like that, it was, the curse was broken. It was awesome.
Yeah, there were years and years of people just waiting for the shoe to drop, right? Because it had happened. It happened so many times before where they got so close, something would happen to derail the team right at the wrong minute. But you got to give a lot of credit to Theo, right? Because he didn't just put together a team full of numbers, a bunch of guys that go out there. He's just looking at the stats. Great, you put together a team like that, doesn't guarantee you a World Series champion. No team, no GM can guarantee you that. But if you look at the personalities on that team, they didn't allow us to get tight when it really counted. When the lights were brightest, we were relaxed. We had a slow heartbeat because a lot of guys like Millar were in the clubhouse, Johnny Damon. These are really lighthearted guys that had a lot of time, that have been there before, that wouldn't allow us as a team to go out there and feel tight, feel like we needed to win this game. We were talented, right? We had a ton of talent on that team. But again, that doesn't win World Series. It's talent. It's being able to use your talent and slow the heartbeat. That's where you're going to be most effective.
LD, you know what's crazy is you asked Adam about his passion for the Red Sox when they would lose, how he felt, and he opened up to you like you were Barbara Walters. I mean, that shows you the kind of passion that you alluded to from these fans. And we're going to take a look at some of the memories, some of the sights and sounds from that parade. But you mentioned fans holding pictures of loved ones who are no longer there. Can you also share with us some other memories that you have from it as we look at a young Manny Ramirez here partying, Lenny?
Oh yeah. I mean, people were throwing drinks up to us. They were throwing beers and whatnot, and we were opening them up and drinking them. We were having a party with the fans. It was it was a great time. And you look at Poppy right there. He was, this is before the David Ortiz that we know so well now, right? This is him right at the beginning. We've seen clutch performances by him previous to this, but he had a long career after this. And I think this was just a springboard to the big Poppy that we know. I mean, when I met him that spring training, I was like, this big guy, this guy could probably hit the ball a long way. I didn't know much about him at that time. I knew, he'd only been with the Red Sox for 1 year, coming over the previous year from Minnesota. But now, I mean, when Poppy enters a room, it's like, it's different, right? If you've ever seen him, it's different. He's just a larger than life individual. There's Pedro. Couldn't have got it done with him. You can see the Dominican flag, pride right there. Long-haired Pedro right there, getting it done, waving the flag. A lot of pride right there, and you can see we're having just as much fun as the fans in the crowd right there. That type of team, we would have gladly jumped off the boats and started getting in with the crowd, right? That's just the type of players we were. We'd have jumped out and hung out with them, no problem. But yeah, that was an amazing experience. Look at that. He's turning around. Look at the jersey I'm wearing. That's you. I got your jersey on.
Man,
And the trophy. Anytime I see all four trophies together, I see them pretty often. I'm always like, where's '04? Where's '04? That's the one I want to take a photo with, because that one, they're all special, but that one just hits home for me. Not only because I was on the team, but again because so many people waited so long to be able to say we're world champions, right? And that was the year.
Man, I was starting to get old looking at that video and seeing some of the styles, man. Like, that's crazy.
G-Unit. Did you see the G-Unit hat?
Yeah, man. That was Poppy's hat, G-Unit. And it's 20 years ago, which is just kind of wild, man. Like, I can't believe it was that long ago. And I know it's hard to remember a lot of the details, Lenny, so I'm trying not to get too granular on you. And I'm sure that you may have had a beer or two that day. But with that said, like, speaking of having a beer or two, like, had you partied with like all of those guys before, or was it like the first time partying with? I mean, because I know a clubhouse, right? Pitchers kind of do their own thing and like position play. Had you like sort of partied with like some of these guys for maybe the first time?
Yeah, so I was 24 at the time, right? And I'll tell you, I'll be the first one to tell you, I was extremely happy to be at the big league level and I took full advantage of going out in Boston back 24 years old at the time, and being one of the younger guys. Me and Bronson Arroyo would go out pretty often, and explore Boston among some other younger players. But every now and then we would get some veteran guys out. I remember Manny came out with us a couple times, Millar. But as a whole, I mean, we weren't drinking beers unless it was in the clubhouse with a lot of those veteran players, because some of those guys, they go out, they're pretty recognizable, right? And it could just be mayhem in the streets, right? But I was, at the time, being who I was and a rookie and pretty unrecognizable at the time. I remember spring training, people were throwing me baseball saying, "Bronson, sign this ball," and I'd be like, "No, I'm not Bronson, right? I'm the other skinny guy, right?" So, but yeah,
no, go ahead, Lenny.
go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, I
No.
was just gonna
So
say.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So some of those guys, it was really the first time, aka partying with them outside the
Yeah.
clubhouse. You're right.
Did you go out after? Could you stand? Like, I mean, did guys go out after that? I always wondered about that. It's like, all right, so you guys are coming off a World Series title. You're partying like that night, and however many days it takes leading up to the parade. Like Celtics are doing it, right? They were in Miami, and now they get the parade. Did you guys have enough like steam left to go out, or was it like I am cooked?
To be completely honest with you, I don't remember what I did after the parade. But
He went out.
I'd be
They went out.
I'd be willing to
He
bet.
went out.
I'd
You
be
don't
willing
remember.
to bet that I went out. Yeah. The fact that I don't remember probably tells you that I went out, right?
Yep. That's
I wasn't
the tell.
gonna miss that party. That's a once in a lifetime party. I wasn't gonna miss that. But yeah, I can't tell you where we went or what we did or what happened.
Hey, Lenny, we're still partying now, man. It's the City of Champions. Here we have a Celtics parade. Obviously, the fans know what to do. They're going to get all lubed up and have fun and yell they love you at the players. But what advice would you give to these players? I mean, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, this is their first championship parade. There are guys on this team that's never tasted it before. What advice would you give the players as someone who's lived it? What would you tell them to enjoy their own first parade?
I would say enjoy this parade, be in the moment as much as possible, right? And don't look too far ahead. You have plenty of time for that when it's over with. So be in the moment as much as possible. Enjoy every minute and really get out there with the fans as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, in 20 years, when the Celtics are my age, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, whatever it is, the fans are the ones that are going to come up to them and say, "Listen, I remember seeing you at the parade." So, be with the fans. It's really for them at the end of the day. So enjoy it. Show them, the fans, how appreciative you are of them. Because without them, there's really none of this.
You'd probably be able to travel back in time at that point, Lenny, because the technology, 20 years from now will be like, you know what? I want to experience that parade again. Jason Tatum traveling back, hiding from like his 2024 self and be like, oh man, this is sick. You'd probably be able to do that. And that's the other thing I was thinking of too, like technology, like back in 04, it's like you guys didn't have like iPhones to, capture everything, and which kind of stinks to not have that like on your phone.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not on my phone, but I do have pictures that I can hold up from a throwaway camera that I had. The throwaway cameras that you...
Oh, yeah, disposable cameras. Yeah, I had...
Disposable camera, yeah. I've got photos from my disposable camera at the time in a box at home of that day.
Did you develop them? Did you develop them?
They're developed, yeah. I've got them at home.
Okay,
I can show you at some point, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're developed and, yeah.
That will solve the mystery of what you did after the parade, too.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I have any photos of that. Yeah.
I hope not. No, we don't need any evidence. Hey, listen, disposable cameras, G Unit. I mean, my heart is full with all this throwback stuff. Lenny, we appreciate you joining us and taking us down memory lane, brother.
I appreciate you having me. I wish I could remember more about the after party. But sorry, I feel like those brain cells maybe passed away a long time ago. So
the shirt probably came off like it does on your Instagram feed. So I'm sure that probably happened.
No. Yeah, Mike Napoli took off his shirt. I did that way before Nap did in 13.
Oh man, you're funny. We love you, Lenny.
I love you too, guys, man. I appreciate you having me.
For more Celtics, more parade, more power, check out Hold My Banner on Nesson's YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you follow us on all of our social media accounts for all of our best content. You like that one, huh, Adam?
I did, because I thought it harkened back to the '90s sitcom Home Improvement with Tim Allen.
That's what I was channeling. More power. That's what I was channeling there. All right, now let's rank Celtic championship teams, some of the greatest Celtic teams in history. Let's go modern here. How would you rank? I'll give you three. How would you rank the 86, 08, and then this current title team? Give me a little power ranking action. Just to make it more intense and suspenseful, let's go 3-1. Give me 3 first, warm me up, then 2, and then sock it to me, the best one in your mind.
All right, so the last 3 Celtics titles we're ranking. I can see. Okay.
Yes.
So I would say the team that is being celebrated Friday in Boston is number 3 on my list.
All right.
So I am going with the Jays Celtics as number 3. Do you want me to get into why, or do I just want
of course.
Okay. All right. Well. All right, so I would say that I was very impressed by the Celtics team, as we've been talking about over the past week, what they were able to do in the regular season, what they were able to do in the postseason, just mowing down opponents and not losing more than 1 game in any given series, which was just impressive. It was not the coming out party for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I would say it was more of a we figured it out party, right? I feel like it was more like that, because we knew that they were special, but they weren't champions yet, and so now they're champions, and so we see that it was their we figured it out party. And so that they would be my number 3. Number 2 would be the 2008 anything's possible KD, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Boston Celtics. I ranked them ahead of the 2024 team. Because you have 3 Hall of Famers. They're just that's what they are. The 3 Hall of Famers who came together for one purpose, and that was to win a title. They were able to do that, and they were able to do that by winning 66 games in the regular season. Now, their road to the playoffs was a lot harder, because they went 7 with the Hawks, 7 with the Cavs, 6 with the Pistons, and 6 with the Lakers. But I would say I rank them ahead of that 2024 team, and one of the reasons is the fact that while the Hawks played out of their shoes in that series, in round 2 they faced LeBron James. In round 3 they faced a Pistons team that had won the title a couple of years earlier, went to the finals, went to the Eastern Conference Finals. They were a perennial contender, and they were able to beat them. And then in the NBA Finals they were able to beat Kobe, and so I feel like that they were able to beat some serious talent on their way to banner 17. And number 1, 1986 Celtics, the original big 3, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and then you include DJ in that mix, Bill Walton, rest in peace, coming off the bench for that squad as well. I will say this, Travis, and I will only say this. Mm-hmm. That team, including the playoffs, went 50-1 on their home court. 50-1, 40-1 in the regular season, 10-0 in the playoffs.
Wow.
That it never happened before, and it hasn't happened since.
Wow.
That is an absolute wagon.
That is the definition of a wagon. All right, so look, we agree. Starting at number 3, it's this current Celtics team, and I think you laid it out beautifully, as you always do. It's not taking anything away from this team, but one of the Achilles heels, in my opinion, of the current Celtics team, to no fault of their own, this is the modern-day NBA. But they do not have the toughness, nowhere close, to any other team on this list, no matter what order you have them in, 08 or 86. So although it sounds like a knock, it's not personal. It's just the new NBA in which these guys play. They shoot high volume of threes. They want to run up and down. It's skill. It's finesse. It's speed. It's size. That is not the same cast of characters we're talking about. Now, the 86 Celtics and the 08 Celtics had elements of all those things. But one thing they had was grit, mettle, toughness. This team doesn't even hold a candle to either one of those. So there are 3 on my list for that. Number 2, I hear everything you're saying, and I saw those numbers in doing my research for this because 86, I was too young to really remember that team or know what was going on. I saw Larry Bird towards the end of his career, but I just don't have any connection with the 86 team. So I went back and I looked at the numbers, and I was like, wow, this is insane. But here's the deal. I'm going to go 08 over them. And for a lot of reasons for what you said, the numbers necessarily don't match up with 86, but the 3 Hall of Famers coming together, vigilante style, just to win this title. I'm impressed with that they were able to get that done, and I'll give them bonus points, which is why I'm putting them at the top, for beating the Lakers. I mean, in a way, the 86 team was such a wagon, it almost works against them on my list because I believe they dismantled the Rockets, right, in their finals. But for the 08 team to be able to beat those hated Lakers and Kobe Bryant, rest his soul, but Kobe Bryant at that, your arch nemesis, I just think, and anything is possible, KG, I mean, like, it's just too much for me to overcome. I think that's number 1 on my list. So you and I will just swap 1 and 2, but we agree on number 3. And by the way, there's really no wrong answer on this list, which is beautiful in and of itself, Adam.
Yeah, and that's why these discussions are always a good time, right? Because there's no wrong answer. And I just look back at those 2 teams, right? And again, I know we're celebrating this year's edition of the Boston Celtics, and rightfully so. Yeah. But those 2 teams, and I was young too. I mean, I was 6 years old when the Celtics won in '86, so I don't have a lot of memories of them. But 08 I do, and I just love that. They inspired the Miami Heat, right, to do what they did a few years later, right? Form a big 3 and these super teams and things like that. But, I'm with you. It is a lot of fun to talk about.
All right, so give us your power rankings, 617-790-0928. You can hit us up on the hotline. You can also email us, the chat at nesson.com. You can tweet us as well. All right, let's do this now. I want to pivot to my guy Corey from Canton, who actually emails us a question here. He says, hey, guys, I was just wondering, with the Celtics winning the championship now, where does this put Tatum and Brown among all-time greats? So, I'm going to defer to you here, but to my understanding, these guys are already, statistically, Adam, all-time Celtics greats. What was missing was at least 1 ring. So now you get that ring, you can enter the chat, pun intended, right? And then we'll see, because they're both still young and they're in their primes. This is not back 9 of their prime like maybe a Steph Curry or LeBron James. This is not just entering the prime like maybe an Anthony Edwards. They are smack dab, boom, in the middle of it. So now they have their ring. We'll see how many they could get. But Adam, from where I'm sitting, it feels like now you can start having conversations about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum being all-time greats, because the numbers, the analytics, the metrics, they're already there. But now they have the rings, so you could start to have the combo, and then the more rings they get, the higher they go on the list. Is that fair, or am I not seeing it correctly?
No, I think that's fair, but I think that this is where the numbers and the nostalgia are going to clash, right? Because people are going to look back fondly on the teams that they watched play, that they watched win. Right. I can already tell you that nobody is going to put Jason Tatum above Larry Bird that grew up in the Larry Bird era, right? It's just not going to happen. But with that said, I don't think anybody can deny, no matter when you grow up, that they're now in the conversation as one of the greats or 2 great Celtics in franchise history. They're in that conversation now they're leading this team and they led them to a championship. And when you do that, you are in that conversation. That's why Paul Pierce is where he is, because he won a championship. Paul Pierce never won a championship. Yeah, he was a great player, but he's not one of the great Celtics because, well, winning championships is what determines greatness in this town. So
Right.
that's why this championship was so big, because now, and again, you mentioned it, they're young. There's an opportunity to really climb that ladder.
All right, well, let's talk about that ladder, my friend. We'll end it with this. And listen, we could do an entire podcast on this question I'm going to ask you, but it's parade day. We'll save it for another time. But I'm very intrigued to know your Celtics Mount Rushmore as it stands today, my friend.
All right, so in no particular order.
Okay.
All right. No, maybe I will put it in order.
Oh, the plot
Maybe
thickens.
I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I will put it in order. All right, I'll put it in order for you. All right.
All
So
right.
I have Paul Pierce there. All right, I have Paul Pierce there.
Okay.
I have John Havlicek there.
Okay.
I have Larry Bird there.
All right.
And I have Drew Holiday. No, just kidding. I have Bill Russell. I have Bill Russell there.
Sam Hauser, you say? Okay. All right.
I have Sam Hauser there. Yeah. So the one that I kind of struggled with a little bit was Paul Pierce, even though he won a title. Yeah. I don't know. That was the one that I kind of had to think about. I'll tell you that, because
Wow.
Bill Russell's a no-brainer. Larry Bird's a no-brainer. John Havlicek should be a no-brainer, and he might not be for some. And like John Havlicek's an 8-time NBA championship. He's an NBA champion. He's an NBA Finals MVP. And I don't think a lot of people realize that he has the most points in Celtics history. Like, there's no other Celtic that has scored more than John Havlicek, and he was also an elite defensive player.
Right.
And so I think I don't think a lot of people sort of understand that his greatness. And then with Paul Pierce, like, I don't know, I was looking at like, hey, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, like those guys, like, I mean, they were part of that thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They won 3 titles. So I don't know. But no, Paul's on the list at the end of the day because, well, he's the second leading scorer and he's an NBA Finals MVP.
Bro, I was when I went to cover the game in the finals, Paul Pierce was at, I want to say, Big Night Live, and he hung out of the window, Adam, for like 2 minutes, just waving at fans. I didn't know what was going on. I just saw commotion, like the Beatles had showed up, and like I didn't know what was happening. I knew it was somebody, and so I worked my way to see what was going on. And sure enough, as I got close, I saw the tail end of it. Paul Pierce just waving, saying, "I love you guys." And that, to me, really spoke to what he means to this city. So he is also on my Mount Rushmore. I have Larry Bird, and I have Bill Russell as well. I do not have Havlicek, although I obviously respect him. How can you not? I'm going to go these new guys. Now, it's Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Take your pick. I'm projecting here a bit because I think they're going to get more than one ring. And by the way, right now, today, I would go Jaylen Brown because he has the NBA Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals hardware over Tatum. And I feel like now in 2 finals, not 1 but 2, I feel as though Jaylen Brown has been the more consistent player. He's given me a little more dog. He's given me a little more clutch. He's given me a little more put it on my back. The moment's not too big. Where Tatum, I feel like I'm waiting for it sometimes. Although in the closeout against the Mavericks, he did show up and show out, Adam. But I'm okay with Tatum or Brown. Only one of them is going to make it on this Mount Rushmore in the end. I do not believe, as great as they both are, I mean, this franchise is just too damn great for both of them to break through on this Mount Rushmore. Today, I'll go Jaylen over Tatum. But Tatum, if he gets a Finals MVP, totally capable. If he gets a regular season MVP, totally capable. I mean, now you start having the conversation. But I think one of those guys will end up on my Mount Rushmore.
All right, I know we're short on time, but I have to ask this follow-up because if they win multiple titles and
Yes.
Jaylen Brown, who you mentioned, wins the NBA Finals MVP,
Yeah.
then Jason Tatum comes and wins an NBA Finals MVP. Are both of them on your Mount Rushmore? And then who's coming off?
See, yeah, that's tough. I don't know if I can. I think I'd have to pick. And then at that point, that's why this stuff's so fun. This exercise is so fun because everyone's just going off preference, right? At that point.
Right.
I think that's a fair question. If it ends up,
because I already know Pearson's coming off my list.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, right. If they get multiple titles, I guess Pierce would be the guy, right?
For me.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Maybe you're bumping Larry off your list, and you're gonna have to deal with Boston.
No shot. Hey, listen, Larry and Bill are staying forever, my friend. All right. Well, there we go. Hey, listen, I love
How can he take off Bird?
I love that I could share this with you and with you all. For Travis Thomas, Adam Pellerin, I'll see you at the parade. Boston has entered the chat till we enter it again. City of Champions, we love you. Peace.